Well, welcome back and happy Saturday, South Florida. So, our next guest, she is a life coach by day, a beauty influencer by night. She's a podcaster, clarity coach, like ladies, whatever we need, just you can sign up after the show. Okay, sign up after the show. But she's also a mental health advocate, and I'm so happy to have you here today, Kyra Pinkney. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Kyra.
Hi, Kyra. Good to be here. It's so good to be here.
Welcome, Kyra. So, I love this, Kyra. Talk to us about the intersection of hair and self-care with your mental health journey, please.
Part of my self-care journey, even without me knowing it, especially when I accepted my natural curls, it was the beginning of me loving myself, me really fully accepting myself, all aspects of myself. So when I would peel myself out of my bed, I would get a sense of accomplishment and self-esteem when I would do my hair, especially when I would look at the finished product of my hair. It was what I needed on those days when I felt like there was nothing to look forward to. And so I would immerse myself in the smell of the products, the feel of the products, the sound of the running water, like how everyone's on ASMR. That's how I was. So I was really invested in that. And so that really helped me.
So can you help us to make a differentiation here? The difference between mental health and mental illness. I think a lot of people get a little foggy there. So can you help to clarify things for us a bit?
Right, because mental health and mental illness is something that's increasingly being used as if it's one thing, but you have to think of it as being two separate entities. Mental health is your mental well-being, how you think, how you act, how you feel about the world around you. And much like physical health, everyone has mental health. And so, but not everyone has a mental illness. And so, like everyone doesn't have chronic health problems at the same time as well, too. So mental illness is episodes of ill mental health. Mental illness is episodes of ill mental health, which changes how one thinks, how one acts, and how one feels. But it's not something you just get over, and it's not a personal weakness, like how a lot of people feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me. It's my fault. But that's not it at all. It's something that can be treated. It can be treated.
This is so interesting. And I love how you just mentioned, I love two things. I love that you mentioned that your hair brought about a level of confidence. And I love how Tracy said it makes sense, right? And today, I mean, we've heard of the Crown Act. I think most of us by now have heard there's legislation in place for people to have protection when it comes to how they want to style their hair in at school, children, how they want to style their hair in the workplace. And it's just interesting that you're shining light there, because I do hear it in so many different spaces. And I think it's very admirable and special that you're focusing on that. So talk a little bit about your past and how this has shaped your future and where you're headed.
So I had a really tough childhood, and it brought upon some struggles with my mental health, so much so that I tried to end my life several times, but I survived every attempt. And I finally realized that there's more to life than this. It really hit me at one point that, there's more to life than what I was doing and what I was going through. So I wanted to get the training in that, and I wanted to become to others what some people weren't for me. And that was the voice of people living with mental illness, especially our women, because we take on so many roles that we can fall by the wayside. So I use my unique story when public speaking, when collaborating with my fellow sister, and just powerful coaching techniques so that they can make strides and bounds in life.
Wow, I love that. So sweet, Kyra.
And I know earlier we talked about your journey. So now if we can transition into the journey with finding a therapist and receiving the diagnosis of bipolar disorder, can you tell us how you've been able to help others as you lead and that journey?
Right. It took me a while to really open up to a therapist. And when I finally did it, I was kind of like, nah. And so I really wasn't taking it seriously at that point, because I was still in denial of my diagnosis. And so when it came time to accept it, and I was in crisis a few times, it took desperation for me to finally get it. So I was hard-headed. And so it was something that I couldn't wish away. I couldn't pray it away. Like any other illness, for instance, diabetes, it was something that was real for me. And so when I lead others, I'm not leading from a place of, telling you what to do, but it comes from experience. It comes from fellow feeling. And so I'm sitting beside my sister, not looking down on her. So yes, I can lift her up, but at the same time, she can help me grow too.
So let's talk about your self-care routine. What about journaling, or what are some really essential parts of your self-care routine?
Journaling is something that I do to organize my thoughts. It's something that I do to calm them, to release them, give them perspective. And I have a gratitude journal, actually. It's a really good gratitude journal, and I love it. It's so much more than gratitude journals. They have a lot of different prompts about asking you questions of the week. They have a habit tracker and everything. But I have a gratitude journal where you enter 3 things that you're grateful for every day. And that really helps me with reframing my thoughts, negative thought patterns, because honestly, I think without pen and paper, I would explode. So I need an outlet, and I draw and do everything in my journal. So it really is a game and a mind changer. So that's how I feel about journaling. So
I have a
yeah.
gratitude journal too.
So good.
I love it. Yes.
You're so inspiring. So I just want you to know that, and you're so brave today being here, sharing your story. A lot of us have difficult times and difficult moments, but you have found ways to rise above, vibrate above all of those instances. And I'm sure you're going to motivate somebody today with that. So thank you for being so brave and sharing.
You're welcome. I'm so glad I could do that.
Thank you so much, Kyra. You're a light in the world, but if people want to find your light, where can they go to find you? And do you have anything else coming up next? Share with us.
So right now I'm going to be working with a nonprofit organization. So we're going to be doing an event coming up soon, like two events that we're going to be doing online virtually. And as far as where you can find me on Instagram at Kyra Ariana _, which is spelled KyraAriana_, or you can email me at hello@KyraAriana.com.
And those events they can find on your page, right? Those 2 events you mentioned?
My Instagram page.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Kyra.
Thank you, Kyra.
So good. And coming up next, our next guest is a friend of the show. She's a podcaster, she's a chef, she's a mom. We are at the table with Tommy.